Okay, here we go. Just waiting for people to turn up. I got someone on Facebook. Last night was one of the slowest lives I've ever had on Facebook. Facebook didn't announce my live for the first time, so I hope it's doing that tonight. But yeah, it was really weird. Really weird. So. Okay, I did advertise it. You did advertise it. How do you advertise something? Yeah, I don't quite know how these things work, but people were telling me that it didn't pop up. They had to search for it or something. They were already on my page, and then they noticed I was live, but it didn't advertise it to my followers yesterday. I don't really know how that works. I've never done a lot, like I've never been in on a live, so I don't know how it works. Okay, always watching you all the way from Australia. Excellent. You probably know by now that's where I raised my kids. Love your work. Thanks so much for that. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. If you live in Vancouver and if you see me in public, come up and say hi. Yeah, I know people see me, but they often don't come up and say hi. And then they write a comment about seeing me. Okay, so let's get going. I just want to say, I'll introduce myself first. If you're new here, my name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can apply for coaching. I have a bit of a wait list right now. So I think I've only got 14 people lined up right now. So it's not that big. And you never know. People finish with coaching, and then I sometimes can take like a whole bunch of people in 1 week. So just never know. Also, I like to mix up the ages too. So anyway, okay, I just want to mention something. How do you make the behavior board work when you're away on vacation? It's trickier because you're not at home and you don't want to ruin your vacation. So here's what I suggest you do. You can still have a rule for the vacation. It can be something like this. No hitting each other during our holiday or something like that. If they do, you delay or postpone an outing. So let's say you were going to go to the pool at 9 o'clock the next morning. Say, I'll tell you what, because you kids were fighting earlier, we'll wait for 10 minutes here before we go. So you weren't necessarily we're going to go at 9 anyway, but you delay it. So, and that way you don't want to cut it short at the end because then it's going to be a disaster. You don't mind having a little bit of a scene waiting to go because then they're going to have fun. Did that make any sense? So yeah, you can still use the behavior board when you're out, but you don't use the same one that you were using at home. You adjust it to the holiday and you just use the delayed activities. Say, look, you were acting out, you broke a rule, so therefore we're not going to go to the pool we're going to sit here for 10 minutes because of that. And then we'll go to the pool. Yeah, so that's how you can use a behavior board on holiday. You can always use it. You just have to adjust it, tweak it for the holiday, for the vacation. Okay, so I'm just waiting for your parenting questions. I want to take my sweater off because I'm hot. I'm pretty sure I'm dressed underneath here. Yeah, okay. No one wants to see that. Okay. Finally got a little bit of a taste of summer here. It's just starting up here in Vancouver. Okay, so I'm just waiting for your questions. And is anyone on? Yeah, I've got a couple people on YouTube. Thanks so much. Yesterday I hit 200,000 on Facebook. Facebook's actually my smallest social media platform, but 200, wow, 200,000. So thanks so much for your support. It doesn't go unappreciated. I really do appreciate you subscribing. And I hope it's because I'm helping you. Right? I'm not here to be popular. I'm here to help you. I want you to enjoy parenting as much as I did. Parenting is the hardest job in the world with the least amount of training. Well, I'm here to train you. And so and everyone expects you to be an expert, which is ridiculous. How can you be an expert at something you've never done before? So that's what I'm here for. Anyway, so when to transition toddler into a bed? Second, they flop out of the crib. That's what I did with my kids. Is, the first time they flopped out and landed on the floor, that was it. I dismantled the crib, and then I just put the mattress on the floor and surrounded it by pillows. And yeah, they do keep getting up, and that's okay. Don't lock them in the room. They did keep getting up for a while, but I just kept putting them back to bed. And eventually I can outdo them, right? Like they're going to get tired before I am. So yeah, then they eventually learn. Plus, they don't like getting up when it's dark. Kind of scares them. They just tend to stay in bed. Not always, but that's the idea anyway. Okay, my 3-year-old needs me to fall asleep. How can I break it? Needs you with them to fall asleep. Check out my bedtime battles course. That'll teach you how to wean them off that. So they don't need you, by the way. They don't need you. They just want you. You meet their needs, but you manage their wants. They literally are quite able to fall asleep without you. It's just they're going to have to learn how to transition into that. So check out my mini toddler course. It's called Bedtime Battles, and it goes from 2 to 8 years old. It's in 2 parts. How to get them in bed and then how to keep them there. That's the hard part, keeping them in bed. It can be one night of hell. Yeah, it can be rough. But I always say you got to be willing to go through the storm to get to the rainbow. No one wants the storm, but they all want the rainbow. There is no rainbow without a storm. You got to be willing to do the hard stuff to get the good stuff, okay? Getting respect with your kids is hard work. You got to earn it. You got to work for that. Once you've got it, you can just sail right through the teen years. Okay, there might be the odd little hiccup, but nothing big. Got my usual kombucha. I don't drink alcohol much anymore. It doesn't agree with me. I get like 2-day hangovers after one drink. I don't know what's wrong with me. I think that's a good thing. So I can have a glass of wine once in a blue moon. I think since February, I had 1 drink, and that was a glass of wine on Mother's Day. 5-year-old still, I don't know why I'm telling you that. There were no questions to answer, so it's just filling time. 5-year-old still waking up at 5 a.m. ready for the day. Tired earlier and later to bed. Oh, tried early and later to bed. Grow clocks, dark room, just can't get past it. Any advice? 5-year-old still waking up at 5 a.m. ready to start the day. Okay, they're 5 years old. You can say to them, look, here's the clock. You're not allowed to get out of bed till 6 or 7. You can read in bed until then, and then have a consequence if they don't. So give them something to do. So you can get up and do Lego or something, but if they're ready to start the day and you've tried putting them to bed later and it didn't work, it's not one night that's going to solve that, by the way. It might take a whole week to transition them into going to bed later. Also, do they still have naps? Some kids are still having naps at 5 years old. My kids both stopped regular daily naps at about 12 months old. So yeah, not all kids need a lot of sleep. My kids didn't. But they were easy kids, so I didn't mind having them up. You have to put an age. You're talking about your son who, when you're out, he's overstimulated. How can I answer that without an age? Yeah. Is he 16, 6, 1? I don't know. Oops. I scroll ahead after a while because I want to make sure people are still here when I answer their questions, because people come and go in these lives. Like I was shocked the other day. I did a live on TikTok or Instagram. I can't remember which. Anyway, so usually I get maybe 150 to 200 people at any given time. And then when the live is over, I never look at stats or data, but I looked at it and there'd been like over 2,000 people were coming and going. So it only looked like there was like 200 people. So yeah, people come and go all the time. That's why I often scroll ahead. Okay, now. Okay, this is from Amel Lima on YouTube. 15-month-old boy plays with his food and only takes a bite or 2, even if he's hungry. Even if I don't spoon feed him, he just takes 2 bites and plays with the food, even after 2 attempts. Even if he's hungry, and even if I don't spoon feed him, he just takes 2 bites. I don't quite understand that. They often don't need nearly as much food as you think. They tend to be grazers. So maybe he just needs less food more often, potentially when they're really little, especially. So, but just make sure you can spread out the meal. Like it doesn't mean that they have to have junk food as snacks. It just means you spread out the meal. But otherwise, yeah, just keep hand feeding him, or just let him have a couple minutes. If he starts playing with his food, say no, and then you hand feed. It'll just take time. People expect everything to work the first time. With little ones, it might take 10, 20, 50 times, right? I'll give my 6-year-old a consequence and she wants to follow me around and talk and whine about it. Do I just ignore her? Yeah, just go whatever, and then just pretend she's not even there. If all she's doing is arguing and trying to negotiate with you, it's okay to ignore that. Okay, you don't need to validate everything that comes out of their mouth. If she's being difficult, you can ignore the difficult stuff. But I would first say, well, you'll know next time, won't you? Or whatever, or it was your choice. I say that once and then I ignore. Okay. Just wanted to say I've been using your behavior board and your tip the last couple of months. Things are a lot better. Ooh, this is a long one. Things are a lot better around here. 5-year-old ended up getting media blackout. Best thing I ever did. He cleaned his whole room, organized everything on his shelves, really neat, made his bed, picked up all the dirty laundry. Well, that's a little bit more than the consequence than I usually recommend. Was just being the best kid he could be. Today he got his TV remote back, and he's really grateful to have his TV back. Thanks for the great advice. It's coming together little by little around here. Thank you. Wow, did he detail your car and mow the lawn too? Wow, and put up a garden shed? Wow. Boy, he's really trying to be the good boy. That's cute. Well, I'm glad it's working. Wow, that's better results than the people usually get. And everyone's different. You can't compare yourself to other families because a lot of parents are different, kids are different. We all have different personalities. So some people, accelerate with all this stuff really quickly and others really struggle with it. I would say when I'm coaching people, what gets in the way the most is their parents' emotions, not the kids, the parents' emotions, guilt, frustration, anger, temper. They just can't handle, they can't handle their own emotions. If you can't handle your own emotions, you're not going to be able to handle your kids. Okay. You stay calm during the storms and you can be crazy during the rainbows. What I mean by that is when you're disciplining, you have to stay calm. You're very robotic and businesslike when you're disciplining a child. The rest of the time you can be crazy. Okay. But yeah, not when you're disciplining. If TV is already limited, not even every day, what can I switch media blackout for? Take away anything that they do every day that they really enjoy. Or you can invent leverage and you can say, tonight we're going out for ice cream. And then if they are bad or break a rule, say, I'll tell you what, no ice cream tonight because you did that. You see, you can invent leverage. There's ways of doing it. I got a million different ideas. Okay. My 4-year-old gets overstimulated when we are out, aggressive, runs into people hard, cannot focus. How would I write this on the behavior board? If he gets aggressive, I would put him on a leash. If he's running into people on that, I'd put him on a leash. And he knows what he's doing wrong, by the way. Just say, no, you can't be wild when we're out. So you're going to be on a leash when we're out. But are you meeting his needs? You're trying to manage his wants. He wants to run around and be difficult, right, when you're out. But are you meeting his needs? Does he get enough exercise? Does he get enough stimulation otherwise? So when you say he's overstimulated, maybe he's understimulated other times. So I don't know. I'll give you a good example of this. I was always meeting my kids' needs and managing their wants. Okay, always is a broad term. Maybe I'm over, I didn't always do it, but I always tried to meet their needs and manage their wants. And a good example of that is we used to go to like nice restaurants with little kids and people would go, oh my God, look who's coming with little kids, right? But then people would come up after and say, oh, your kids are so polite. That's because I met their needs. I would feed them before we went out. They don't want to eat quail or whatever we were eating in a fancy restaurant. They don't want that. So I'd feed them before we went out. We'd stop off at a park and let them run around a little bit first. Then when we got there, I'd pull out a brand new coloring book and crayons that they'd never seen before. So they'd sit and color. So I was meeting their needs, right? They need to eat something that they like. They need to get exercise and they need something to do while you're sitting there having a glass of wine and eating, right? So you meet their needs and manage their wants. 15-year-old has terrible impulse control. He's always loud and I'm always telling him how much it bothers me. Well, does he really care? Yeah, don't tell him that. Don't tell him that. He doesn't care. He loves you, but he doesn't care that it's bothering you, okay? Can I give 15-year-old consequences for yelling and yapping all the time? It's not in an angry way. He's just overstimulating. I don't know about that. I can't answer that because I don't know your type of parent, your parenting style. I don't know what's going on there. You'd have to look into coaching for that. Look into coaching. I have a wait list for coaching, but if you're really interested, I have to assess the situation because I don't know your relationship with him. Why would he do that? If you've got a good relationship. Would you recommend Shrek for your kids to watch? Oh, I don't know. I don't recommend shows. And I also don't like to talk about anything that isn't timeless. Like I want what I'm saying to be 20 years from now to still be applicable. So yeah, I don't talk about anything that's trendy or that's new or that's out right now. I try not to anyway. Someone said, do your kids like paint? Well, my kids are 34 and 29. So if they're painting, it's probably a wall. Can you put stop making silly noises on your behavior board? No, you can't. That's more in the attitude department. And that kind of, Yeah, that takes care of itself. Once you've set yourself up as a leader and they respect you and you just say, look, that's annoying. Don't do that anymore. They tend to stop doing it, like when they respect you. But you got to work on your leadership first. You got to get respect before you can do that. And I just mentioned before, I'm getting a lot of questions right now about, can you do the behavior board when you're on holidays? Yes, you can, but don't use the same behavior board that you're using at home. What you do is you tweak it a little bit and you put something like stop killing each other when we're out or whatever. And then if they do break a rule, you say, look, we're going to wait for 10 minutes before we go down to the pool today, okay? Because you guys broke that rule. See what I mean? You're tweaking it. Do not go home 10 minutes early from the pool. That will mean your whole rest of your day will be a disaster. You punish them and you delay the outing. So at the start of it, and they can be miserable as heck and say, as soon as you calm down, stop being upset, then we'll go at least 10 minutes in. So yeah, you delay the outing, the fun outing that they want to go to. That's what you use as a punishment when you're on holiday. So yeah, you can still do it. I have an 8-year-old with a lot of attitude and back talk. That's just a tell. It means he doesn't respect you. Check out my boot camp course. That teaches you how to get respect in 5 weeks. Yeah, you can't put that on the behavior board. What you're saying is you respect me. That's ridiculous. You can't just put that. You can't demand respect. You have to command it. And you command it by working on yourself and working on that behavior board week after week. And then by week 4 in the boot camp course, you go off the behavior boards. It shifts and changes. Like it when people come in from other countries and they've got all sorts of different alphabets. It's actually very pretty. I don't know where that's from. Where's that from? Do you know what I'm talking about? The arrow that's going up. What country is that? What language is that? I'm curious. And is it, yeah. I get clients from all over the world, and a lot of my clients have quite strong accents. So I tend to yell at them, trying to be really clear. And then they often have to correct me. They say, we understand English. We just have a strong accent. How stupid am I? So I'm yelling at them like they can't hear me. It's quite interesting because I learn a lot about different cultures by coaching people from different parts of the world. And sometimes the father, who is the head of the house, will not be on a behavior board. He just won't do it because it goes against their culture. So I find that quite, it goes against what I teach, but that's not my place to judge. So I have to work with that and still make things work. And so we just get him to play with the kids every day. He has to do that. Stuff like that. So, but it's quite interesting to hear people around the world. One thing that I'd say a lot of cultures have over us Westerners is that they respect their elders, and they have a lot of multicultural or multi-generational families living under the same roof, which can provide its challenges. But also, I think that's actually quite neat. I love getting people from different cultures. This is funny. Veronica on YouTube. My 16-month-old doesn't want me to play with him. I watch him play, and when I try to join in, but he just gets up and goes elsewhere. That's cute. I don't know what's going on there. That's cute, though. Sorry to laugh, but it's cute. Maybe just start playing with something you're pretty sure he'd like make some, get some noodles, or not noodles, but like dry pasta and play in that and see if he joins you, okay? So start playing fun stuff and he'll probably join you. I've been an authoritarian style for 15 years. How do I transition to more fun-loving leader after such a long time being very firm? Okay, there's 3 different types of parenting, the way I look at it anyway. The old-fashioned authority, which is what you're talking about. That's my way or the highway, and you're not accountable. The kids would never get to punish you, right? That's the old-fashioned authority. It's not a horrible way to parent, but they will rebel in the teen years. But they usually shoot out the other end okay, and they respect you and appreciate what you did for them. But there can be some real wars during the teen years with that style. And then there's the newfangled pleaser parent, which has been around for about 40 years. It started with participation awards, dumbest thing ever. You just turn up and you get an award. Anyway, there's that. And it's all about pleasing the children, talking about all their big feelings and big emotions. Those parents are most likely to yell, by the way. Because that style just doesn't work and they don't feel respected and they get all frustrated, and the kids never respect them. They're a disaster through the teen years, and they shoot out the other end, the kids do, as self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. You're raising woke victims. It's just a disaster. I saw it coming 40 years ago. And I'm glad it's going out. I really feel it's going out. So how you transition to leadership is you just start watching me. And if you like what you see, then just start practicing it. It's like anything. You do one step at a time. That boot camp course might be a good fit for you if you have 5 to 12 years old. But if you've been doing that for 15 years, you might have teenagers. But just keep watching. You'll get the idea. With teenagers, I'll read this out in a minute. What was I saying? Lost my train of thought. Yeah, just start one step at a time. Like in the boot camp course, it's 1 behavior board. Then the next week you got 2 behavior boards, then 3. I'm easing you into it. I have paced that course out according to my 17 years of coaching. That course is only 1 year old, so I had 16 years of coaching parents under my belt. You can know something, but teaching it is something different. I've had 16 years of experience teaching this to parents, and I paced that course out according to make it easy for you. You're kind of easing in. It's like getting into a pool or into the ocean really slowly, which is the way I do it. I would never just jump into cold water. I got to ease in. You know how you're standing on your tippy toes and you're going like that? That's me. It's kind of like the course. Okay, these are my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1, listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will shut you out. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. They already know it anyway. Number 2, negotiate pretty much everything. Hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. What do you want from me? It's about giving respect to get it. You got to give it before you get it, by the way. And number 3 is don't sweat the small stuff with teenagers. If they do something stupid, you just say to them, hey, and it's not a big deal. You just say, hey, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? Or do you want to hear what I did yesterday? And laugh it off. It's okay to make mistakes. I'm going to go over to Instagram now. If you want to join me over there, it's Bratbusters Parenting. If not, check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. So I'm heading over. Did I say Instagram? Yeah, Instagram. Okay, so happy parenting. Take care. Bye now. Here we go. How lucky are we? 2 days in a row. Thanks, Phil. Oh, you're very welcome, Matthew. I used to be on here every single day for about 2 years. And then I've just gotten so busy. I just haven't been on here as much. And someone asked me about a show that I don't like to talk about anything too current, because then I don't want my content to be like, I want it to be timeless. Not time sensitive. Anyway, one show that I like, and it's really old. My kids love this, and I still watch it on YouTube. It's called Art Attack, and it's the original British one. And the guy, it's like 30 years old or whatever. And the guy had like curly hair. It's a young guy, and he was really. There's other people who've done the same show. It's British, and it's called Art Attack, and it's so good. He takes all these just household items and he turns them into artwork. Like, it's really creative, and I still watch that show. And I haven't watched it in a while. I'm gonna write it down. Art Attack. Anyway, I think that's a really good show. It is kind of timeless because it's probably 30, 40 years old and I'm still watching it. So, but it's really educational and it's all creative. So anyway, check it out. You'll see. Will your course help? I would not have done a course if I didn't think it would help. So there's no guarantees with anything. We're dealing with human beings here. Oftentimes parents are doing something that sabotages it and they're not even aware of it. That's where coaching comes in. I pick up stuff pretty quick. But the course is just for the normal stuff that most parents are going through. Tantrums, attitude, snottiness, hitting, all that stuff, okay? If you're in the red zone with real serious stuff, PTSD, abuse, all that teenage stuff, whatever, that would be coaching. But the course, I hope it helps. 3 to 12 years old. Will your course help me helping my nearly 3-year-old always pushing and hitting the first? It should help. Yeah, I don't like to guarantee anything. It depends on how much work you put into it, it's all about you. It's not about your kids. It's about you. You lead, they will follow. Parents are always reacting to their kids, whereas I suggest you turn it around. You want your kids reacting to you because you're acting like a leader. You're like a mentor to them. They look up to you. They want to please you when you're a really good leader. You're fun. You're goofy. You play with them a lot, right? You want to connect with them. And then when they do something naughty, you say, hey, that was bad. Here's your consequence, okay? And then when they've finished being upset, say, you want to go to the park? Right? You know how to handle stuff. You come across as a real, you know what you're doing. My son used to say, I heard him saying to one of his friends once who was challenging me I don't know what it was. And my son said, watch out. My mom knows how to take care of business. It was funny. And if she yells, or if she whispers, run, because that's what I'm disciplining. I get real quiet. Yeah, I never yelled. Examples and situations of ignoring attitude and why. Oh, let's say that you said, okay, here's your consequence because you broke the rule on the behavior board. But why? But why? I hate you. I hate you. I would just turn to them and say, whatever, and then walk away. All they're doing is they're trying to argue with you. They're trying to undermine you. They're trying to make you angry. That's what you ignore. Take the high road, let them travel the low road all by themselves. If you get involved in that conversation, you have just entered their low road. Guaranteed they've won, and they know it. I just go, whatever, and then go and do my chores or whatever. Yeah. So it's when they're arguing, when you've laid down the law because they've made a bad decision. Okay. Your bedtime suggestions save me. I did the sentence, then word, then back to bed only one night. Oh, God, thank you. That's exactly how it's supposed to go. What Steph is talking about is my bedtime battles course. What you do is two parts, how to get them in bed, then how to keep them there. The first time they get out of bed, once they were supposed to be in bed, because you say, good night, love you, don't get out of bed. First time they get out of bed, what she's referring to is the sentence. You say, I said stay in bed, don't get up again, or whatever, something like that. Put them back in bed. Second time they get up, you say one word, bedtime. Every time after that, you don't look at them or talk to them. You slowly but surely and calmly just keep putting them back to bed. And she's saying it was one night. It's usually one night of hell, though, just so you know. But it's one of the quickest methods. Like it works really fast, but it's difficult. This is from Kristen. Oh, is that how that's pronounced? Probably got it wrong. It's like that client I had years ago, and I said, "Hi, Jesus. It's nice to meet you." And he said it's actually pronounced Jesus. It was spelled Jesus. But he didn't even laugh because he said he hears it all the time. So I'm not the only moron out there. Okay, your advice is gold. Recommendations for how to start yes and no with a very young baby. How do you start yes and no 8 months old? Okay, you're starting to teach them right from wrong. They're not going to stop doing wrong and start doing right for quite some time. You're teaching them to know right from wrong, but understanding right from wrong doesn't make them do the right thing and stop doing the wrong thing because they don't have impulse control yet. Okay. But some of them are really sensitive. Like my daughter and my son actually are both really good at this. If I looked at them and said, no, you never want to say no to a baby and make them cry. You want them to go like this, look at you kind of confused and sort of stop what they're doing. They will eventually put the pieces together, but you're just teaching them right from wrong, but you never want to correct them and make them cry until they're about 15, 16 months, then you can start saying no. And if they start crying, because they're starting to get older and they're going to fight you back more, right? But when they're babies, they don't tend to fight you back. You just remove them from the fun. You redirect a baby. Okay. But yeah, you can start teaching them right from wrong. But the impulse control doesn't really kick in until 3. At 3 years old, that frontal lobe is actually starting to develop. It's not just a whisper at this point. So they can stop and think before they act. They won't always do it, but they have the ability to learn to stop and think before they act. So when kids are acting out, it's not usually a lack of understanding. It's a lack of impulse control. It's like, I want to do it. I'm going to do it anyway. I don't care if it's right or wrong. Okay. That's what toddlers are all about usually. Okay. 11-year-old constantly argues with everything and back talks and rolls eyes. That just means you're not a leader. They just don't respect you. You got to work. You got to earn that respect. You got to work for it. You got to put in the work. Okay. Check out my boot camp course. That might be a good fit for you. It's 5 weeks long. Summer's a good time to do it. You got more time with your kids. Don't roll your eyes at me. More time with your kids. Oh, good. But yeah, check it out. It's called Boot Camp Course, and it's 3 to 12 years old, and it teaches you how to be a leader. It's all focused on you and your leadership, not your kids. You lead, they will follow. Okay. What time is it? Okay, I got a few more minutes, and then I got to run over to TikTok. Any tips for horrible listening and throwing fits on vacation? I don't know how old they are, but generally, I'm just going to repeat this. I've said it a couple times already. I don't know if I've said it on Instagram yet, though. I might have said it on Facebook. Anyway, how do you handle the behavior board when you're on vacation? Okay, you don't take the ones from home on vacation. Okay, because it's just a different setup. You have a new one. And I would write it up and I would say, no killing each other, or whatever it is, if they hit each other or fight, no fighting, whatever. And if they do, the consequence is you delay the next outing. So if you're at Disneyland and then you want to go to Disneyland, say, look, we were going to leave at 9, but because you two were fighting, We're going to leave at 9:10 instead. And that was your choice. You chose to fight, and here's the consequence. You don't want to add the consequence on the end and leave early, because then you're going to have one hell of a night. You want to have the consequence at the start of the journey, because once they're on the way to Disneyland, they'll be happy anyway. Does that make any sense? So you're still disciplining, you're still leading, but you're delaying the outings or the fun that you're going to be having on vacation just by 10 minutes or so. Don't make it a big deal. There's always a way. Can you have more than one behavior per child on the board? No. Each board, 1 week is one rule for everybody. Then next week, one rule for everybody. That's 2 rules you got going now. The third week, you got another set of rules for everybody. 1 rule per person. And then you've got 3 rules per person after 3 weeks that you're running all at the same time. Then you stop there. I had a client years ago, or last year, no, a couple years ago, and they did 13 behavior boards. And they hired me again. They couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. 13 behavior boards. And I said, I even had it in my notes, because I remember them saying, how many behavior boards can we get? And I actually typed out, I told them only 3, because they kept wanting to make more. So anyway, sure enough, we had to start all over again. That was funny. But yeah, you only go to 3, and it's just a teaching tool. Like, I would never use a behavior board. I don't want kids looking at a board. I want them looking right at me, right? It's a teaching tool. You're just learning how to get respect using the behavior boards. And once you've learned how to do it, then you go rogue and you go off the boards and you do it. How to deal with a 6-year-old that's very stubborn, which is always an interesting comment to me. Stubborn can be a good thing. He's so stubborn that he always wants to get good grades. He's so stubborn that he always wants to make his bed neatly. See, what you're actually saying to me is defiant. There's a difference there. It just means you're not a leader. They don't tend to be defiant. There's nothing to rebel against when you're a leader. My son was 15 and he says, I could never rebel because you're too reasonable and easy to talk to. I didn't know whether to apologize or celebrate. I think I apologized to his face and then went in the other room and celebrated. But anyway, yeah, leaders, they don't rebel. They don't defy leaders. They just don't, because you're working with them, not against them. Okay. I put her in timeout for doing that and said, oh, I hate timeout. I can't stand it. Yeah, can't stand timeout. I don't have time to go into it. I've got to move over to TikTok now because I've got stuff to do. So anyway, I got to run, but yeah, don't do timeout. So yeah, I can't stand it. I don't want to go into it right now, but I'll probably talk about it on TikTok. Anyway, I'm heading over there now. If you want to join me, it's Bratbusters Parenting. If not, check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. I have a wait list for coaching. I won't answer your messages until I have room to fit you in. Okay, thanks so much for joining me. Happy parenting. That's TikTok. It starts with ads now. Okay. Oh, I feel like I'm finally over my cold. It was, oh, geez, almost 4 weeks. It was a nasty one. I'm just killing time here, by the way. At the gym yesterday morning, I haven't had a coughing fit at the gym yet, and I've been sick for 4 weeks basically, and now I'm better. Anyway, so yesterday I could feel a coughing fit coming on, so I ran to the bathroom. And sometimes at the gym, people push themselves and get sick, so I'm sure people thought I was going to throw up. I just went in the bathroom, did one of those inside-out coughs, and then within like 3 seconds, I was back out. Everyone looked so shocked, but I had tears in my eyes and everything. It was a nasty coughing fit. But yeah, I had to run quite a distance in the gym. My 2-year-old tells other adults and kids what to do. How do I deal with it? You don't deal with it. Just ignore it. What do you mean they tell you what to do? So what? Don't do it. Yeah, they'll stop telling you what to do if you don't do what they tell you to do. So yeah, they'll eventually learn. Just ignore it. Oh, by the way, I haven't introduced myself. This is my last stop. I do Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And I'm also on YouTube the whole time I'm doing lives. So while I'm on YouTube, I do Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And this is always my last one because I do it in alphabetical order. Plus, I go from my smallest platform to my biggest one. It makes it easy. Anyway, my name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you're new here, you can check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses. I have 4 of them, one on bedtime battles, one on potty training, one on toddlers who hit, and of course, one on tantrums. Or you can look into my boot camp course. It goes from 3 to 12 years old. It's all focused on you and your parenting because I'm teaching you how to be a leader. You're working with your kids, not against them. You want to bring out the best in them. You want them to like themselves when they're with you. There's no shaming kids. That's just not, it's never going to work. If you're shaming your kids, you're lowering their self-esteem and making them feel like crap about themselves. That's never going to work. So you're working with them, not against them. Anyway, then you can look into coaching. I have a wait list right now. I won't answer your coaching messages unless I have room for you. So if I'm not ignoring you, but if I'm not answering, it just means I don't have any spaces. So anyway, thanks for joining me. Let's get going. Okay, 12-month-old throws tantrums. Anything I can do at this stage to stop them? No, you're never stopping tantrums. You're just surviving them. Okay, they will peter out as time goes on. They'll minimize in duration, intensity, and frequency over a period of time. And you always ignore a tantrum. But at 12 months old, sometimes I might pick them up and cart them around, but I face them away from me and hold the back of their head so they can't headbutt. In other words, I'm just trying to keep them safe because they'll often bang their head on something when they're having a tantrum. So yeah, you still don't look at them or talk to them though. They'll eventually learn that they only do what works after a while. And if tantrums never work and attention is working, if you look at them or talk to them, they kind of win because they're pulling you in. It's the way they interpret it. So you're not trying to stop them. Kids will either have them or they won't. They're born to have them. It's a temper. They're born with it's part of their personality DNA. They're either born with a temper or they don't have one. I don't have a big temper. My daughter, like we never had tantrums, neither one of us. My son has had tantrums, so he was just born with them. There, you can see it. I knew when he was in the womb. I knew it because if you know how their foot comes up and it sticks out basically, and I'd try and push his foot back in, and he'd push back and move like crazy. Whereas my daughter, the same thing. She'd stick her foot out, and I'd push it back in. She'd pull it in and wouldn't move for ages. She was just like this. So yeah, it's just a different temperament, right? They're born that way. But they can, by the time they're about 3.5, they usually outgrow them. Like they learn how to, they learn you're not going to ever feed it. And then they just stop having them. Because especially by the age of 4, they only do what works. 3 years and 9 months, really. They only do what works. So if tantrums never work, they just stop having them. I think I told my son once, I said, look, there's nothing wrong with being angry. I said, look, you can be as angry as you want. Just don't drag us down with you. Just go in your room and scream into a pillow. I think he did it once and then he was bored with it and never did it again. Do you recommend a door handle cover to prevent toddlers from running out of the room during bedtime? No, you want them running out. You don't want to lock them in their rooms. Yeah, you want them to have the ability to get up and run out. So check out the Bedtime Battles course. It explains all that. Jeez, I got a hair loose. I was in a cafe earlier and I found this hair and I thought, oh, this stupid thing. I went like that. And there was a few of them and they were attached to my, right here. It just pulled my head sideways. Good one. Okay. How do I sleep train? Okay, Bedtime Battles course is in the link above. Sleep training is a different thing. That's usually done with a baby. It's just a different terminology. So it's usually with a baby when they won't sleep throughout the night and they're in a crib. You sleep train when they're in a crib and they can't get out. Bedtime Battles starts at 2 and it's when they're out of the crib. If they're still in the crib, you just go in there, pat them, say, you're okay, and then go out, shut the door, and then sit outside their door and cry into a pillow like I did. But yeah, that's what sleep training is. You have to let them cry it out. You can go in every couple of minutes or every 5 minutes. You're okay. And they're probably standing up hysterically. Try and put them down. And then you're okay. They're still going to be screaming. And then just leave the room. They'll eventually tire. They tire themselves out. By the way, this is just psychology, but I don't like to go on about it, but I'm obsessed with all this stuff. When a baby cries, it's not like when we cry. That's their only way of communication. So their crying it's not emotionally draining like it is with us. Babies recover because it's not backed by the emotions like it is with us. So their crying is really upsetting to us because we know how it feels to cry as adults. It's not the same with them. It's just how they communicate, because that's all they have, right? So think about it that way. Their crying is not emotionally taxing like it would be if we cried. It's just how they communicate. Basically, they're saying, I don't want to stay in bed. That's basically what's happening. It's a little bit more than that, but you get what I'm trying to get here? Okay. Someone said here, never lock a child in their room. Yeah, I generally say that, but there are exceptions. Some kids will get out, and I don't want to go on about it too much because I've worked with everything. I've seen everything. But sometimes they'll come out and they'll go in the kitchen and do something dangerous, right? So if they're that way inclined, and if you're not going to hear them, you can still not lock the door, but make sure you put an alarm on the door so you hear them get up, and then you can get up and go to them. So yeah, I really don't like locking kids in rooms at all. But yeah. He said, I didn't know that. That's good to know. Is that about the babies crying or little kids crying, how it's not as emotionally taxing on them? Because, yeah, that's just how they communicate. Was that it? I'm just curious. I don't quite know what you're asking here, Daniel. This is on YouTube. Daniel said, my 5-year-old likes his talks when he gets in trouble, and has to sit with me to the point that when he gets in trouble says, we get to talk. Is that okay? I don't quite know the context around that, so I can't answer it. Basically, I think he's looking for validation that he wasn't bad after all. So I might, I don't know about that one. I don't want to answer that because I don't have enough context around it. That could mean a lot of different things. I've already taken away everything that matters to my 5-year-old as a consequence, yet she is still misbehaving. You're doing something wrong. You're not connecting with her enough. You're not meeting her needs. You're trying to manage her wants and correct her bad behavior, but you're not meeting her needs. You're not connecting with her potentially. That's usually what's going on. If the discipline isn't working, it means because the connection isn't there. So work on connecting with your kids first. That's why on the behavior board, your consequence is playing hide and seek for 5 minutes or something, if you yell. So the connection is way more important than the discipline. You have to put ages down or else I can't answer. Unless it's toddler. A toddler is, I'd say a toddler is 16 to 35 months. That's just the way I look at it. Yeah, and then you said he's 3, but I don't know what your question was. We'll have to look at that. You're asking about grandson. I don't discuss grandparenting. Because if I give anyone else advice and the parent doesn't like it, see where I'm going with that? I only teach parenting. I'm very careful about that. How would the connection look like? Watch them play and join in. You enter their world. You play with them. Their love language is fun. That's what makes them feel good. People tend to overpraise and underplay. Some of my clients who are child psychologists argue 2 things with me. One of them is praise gets good behavior. I argue that's crap. Praise does not get good behavior. Like, you're a wonderful boy. I know you'd never do that. Oh, what's that going to do? Anyway, you look at a kid. Here, you get a 5-year-old kid and use praise and then use play. Watch the difference. 5-year-old boy, you're wonderful. You're special. What a good little boy. I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy. I love you and all that. I'm going to go do the dishes now. This is him. What did that do for him? Squat. You say to that same 5-year-old boy, hey, what are you doing? Can I play too? Look at the difference. That's his love language. Okay. Parents tend to overpraise and underplay. Play more in their world, enter their world, watch how they play and join in. You can change how they're playing once you've joined in. Like, let's say you got a really little one who's playing with something wrong. I've done this especially with autistic children or children with delays, that if they're doing something they don't know how to hit with a drum, and they'll hit themselves instead of the drum or something because they're just, can't figure it out. So I will sit down and I'll start hitting myself. Then I'll transition into hitting the drum. So you can sort of correct them into playing a little bit differently, but you start by entering their world, enter what they're doing, mimic them. They'll connect with you better. Why one of the other? Why not both? Huh? Don't know what you mean. Huh? I don't know what you mean. How do you stay positive as a parent? Sometimes I'm down and my kids feel off of that. Yeah. Okay. It's fake it till you make it. You just got to push through. That's the biggest challenge with my clients when I'm coaching, I would say, is that they get drained, they feel hurt, they get emotional. And I say, you just have to remove that. This is temporary. Getting respect is hard work, but it's temporary, because once you've got respect, once you are the leader and it's cemented, then you can just sail through. Getting respect is hard work. Maintaining it is easy. So it's just temporary. Okay, look at it that way. It's temporary. It's worth it. It's worth it. And once you start getting results, it gets easier. You start to feel more empowered and calmer. So if you play with them more, they will stop misbehaving. If you mix it with discipline, it's got to be a balance. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. You play with them more and discipline them effectively. You deal with bad behavior, then you focus on the good kid, which means playing with them, connecting with them. Okay. You deal with bad behavior, but your main focus and energy goes into the positive stuff. Connection before correction. You know, I like that saying, but I don't actually use it because I never really see myself as correcting children. I encourage them to correct themselves. That's why I don't use that. It's a great saying. I love it, but it's not me. I don't really correct children. I want them to be self-disciplining. I don't want to tell kids what to do. Here's the rule. You make a choice. It's up to you. I happen to be here to hand out a discipline if you make a poor choice. I want them to be self-correcting. I want them to have self-discipline. That's why I never tell kids what to do. Here's the rule. It's up to you whether or not you follow it. But if you don't, there's going to be a consequence. That's my job. See the difference? So I want them to be self-correcting. But it is a great saying. I get it. It's a great saying, but it's not quite in alignment with what I do. Okay, actually, I have to get going. I got stuff to do. So anyway, thanks so much for joining me. If you look at the link above, you can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. Also, as I was saying, you can still do a behavior board on vacation. The way you do it, you don't take the same ones from home, but when you're out on a vacation, you're normally going out and doing fun outings. What you do is you say, hey, look, if you guys, I don't want you killing each other, right? I don't want any fighting. So if you do fight, we will delay our outing by 10 minutes. So let's say they fight, and then you say, that's 10 minutes. We're going to go 10 minutes later. You probably weren't going at that certain time anyway, but just say we're delaying it. We're delaying when we go to the next fun outing. If they fight again, that's 20 minutes. We're going to delay the outing. So you're just sitting in the room, in the hotel room or whatever, waiting to go, right? So, but you never do that at the end. You never try and go home early, because then the rest of the night's going to be a nightmare. So you delay the outing at the start, and then by the time they go out, they've had fun anyway. So you're not ruining the whole day. Does that make sense? Anyway, okay. Thanks so much for joining me. Happy parenting. Have a great weekend. I might try and do a live over the weekend too. Anyway, thanks so much. Happy parenting. Bye now.